I think one of the things that might set the program apart is that our students are able to engage in the business of history. There's often a misconception that history is about learning dates and names, presidents or kings or whatever, when in fact it's really about analysis. It's about gathering evidence. It's about posing questions. It's about active research. And our students do that in our classes. And at WSU in particular, they have access to MASC, the manuscripts and special collections in the Terrell Library, which is filled with all these primary sources that were written, produced at the time. So all the way from the earliest beginnings of colonization in the Americas to the 20th century, I guess probably some 21st century stuff in there now. So it's not a passive thing. It's not a matter of students sort of sitting and remembering things and being quizzed on it, but instead engaging in the process of historical inquiry, which means processing information, posing questions, gathering evidence, and drawing conclusions, which is ultimately what is useful.
When I came here, I thought the classes would be very note-heavy, and after taking classes, I learned how engaging classes were and how every day was something new, and it kept me wanting to come back and learn more. One field trip in one of my classes for History 300, we got to go use MASC, which was a cool opportunity to go see the archives here at WSU and get to see how in-depth research could be and how you could really make an impact and use sources that have never been discovered and write papers about information that's never been used before.
I think that there's always another angle to learn. There's always another new perspective, new angle to look at things. And it just keeps opening new doors. Like you think that you've learned everything about something, and then there's like 5 other new ways you can look at it.
In history, I think it's really important that students learn to see complexity. Oftentimes, we live in a very oversimplified world around sound bites and memes and TikToks and things like that. I think that history students really do learn to see complexity and nuance. We actually take a summary from a historical era that generative AI has constructed, and they use primary sources to critique that summary. And so they're seeing that AI is a very helpful tool in creating summaries, but that oftentimes it's a bit overly simplified and that history is oftentimes much more complex. And one of the skills that you really gain in history is, in this world of AI, how do we maintain our humanity?
While here, I've learned some strengths on how to be more confident, how to approach questions that can be a little more complex, and how to tackle them from the right way, looking at perspectives from both sides.
There are, of course, the types of careers that most history majors do go into: teaching, working at a museum, working at historical sites. But then there are also a lot of careers that I don't think people really think about. Working for local, state, and federal government. A lot of folks from history backgrounds work in those types of government jobs. And really, any job that requires analysis of a bunch of information and the ability to synthesize and disseminate and communicate the results of that information to a public audience. Any job related to that, a student of history and a history major is going to leave our program with those skills and be able to do that.
Career ready, world ready.
Leaders start here.